If you're struggling to manage multiple tasks, you've got a product that you want to launch, or maybe you need a place to organize your content, Trello may be your best option. In today's video, I'm bringing you a full comprehensive tutorial to get you started with this free project management tool. Let's do this. Hi my lovely people, it's Natalia and welcome back to my channel where I share super actionable ideas on content creation for entrepreneurs and creatives. And in today's video, I'm bringing you a full Trello tutorial for beginners so that you can get organized and manage all your projects from one place. Without further ado, let's do this. So the first thing you want to do is to set up an account with Trello. So you need to place your email address in here in this box and then hit this button here, and it will take you through to actually set up an account with Atlassian. I'm not entirely sure if I'm pronouncing that one correctly, but this is an account that you'll need to use all the features of Trello. And as you can see in here, the first screen that we're seeing is the Getting Started board. And this is actually Trello's guide to step-by-step show you how to get the most of Trello, as they're saying in here. So you can create a team, add a board, invite your teammates, connect your apps, and then explore different automations. But we'll start with creating a team. The first thing we want to do is to set up our team. And I'll name mine Dream Team just for the purpose of this video. And we'll choose your team type. So select an option and I'll go for small business. And in here, you can already add your team member. So I'll just enter an email address in here and you can add team members at any time later on. So I'll just add that one email address and hit next. And as you can see, Trello now offers business class, their business plan for 30 days for free, but we can just scroll down and hit start without business class, and this will give us the free option. Perfect, so let's hit let's go. And as you can see, we're back to the getting started screen. And the next thing we can do is to add a board, but before we do that, I like to set up my profile. So let's go to the top right corner in here and hit profile and visibility, and that will take us to the settings of my profile. And this is where you can actually change a few things, your activity cards, different things, but we'll go to settings at this point, and you can hit go to your Atlassian account. And this will take you to the actual screen settings. So you can then go and change your time zone in here, but we will go to profile and visibility again. And this is where you can actually change your profile photo and your header image. I won't change the header image at this stage. Let's hit that, and we can upload a photo. You can just adjust it here, make it smaller, move it around. We can just hit upload, and this is our avatar done. Lovely, so let's close that tab. And now that we're back in the getting started view, we can hit number 2, add a board to your team, and this will create our first board. So you can either create a new board from here, or you can browse the full template gallery. And Trello actually offers quite a few different categories of templates. So let's click on here and see what you can actually choose for yourself. To the left in here, you've got all the different types. You've got business, design, education, engineering, and you can just browse through it and see if any of those templates fit your business. But at this point, I'll just go back and create a new board just to show you how to do it yourself. Let's click on create new board. And as you can see, it pulls up that little pop-up, and you can add a board title in here. You can see that it's assigned to that particular team that you've just created, because we're creating a board for that team within that team in here. And in here, you've got all the different images or colors that you can use as a backdrop for your board. So let's name that one project management. And let's play around, see if any of those images fit, but I will stick to the blue just because it's kind of blank and you can see clearly what you can do in Trello. Perfect, so now we're within the board, and as you can see, Trello's got some new functionalities which you can access if you've got a business plan. We'll get to that later on, so make sure to watch the very end of this video. But as you can see, they're offering different views apart from the board view, something that was definitely missing. We've got a timeline now, table, calendar, dashboard, and a map view. But for now, we'll just stick to the board so that I can explain all the basics, and then we'll proceed to these ones. So this is what the board looks like, and it's preloaded with 3 different lists, and these represent different statuses of your tasks. So you've got the first list, and this is a to-do list, which means all the tasks that you still need to take care of. Then you've got doing, which means any tasks that are in progress, and then done, which are, of course, ticked and done tasks which you don't need to worry about anymore. This will be different for different types of projects. You can set it up the way you like it and the way your business needs it, but basically this is in line with the Kanban style of management. And if you want to add another list, another status to that board, you can just hit in here this plus, and you can put in, let's put in ideas for now, and let's hit add list. And this, as you can see, created another list. And what we can do with these is actually kind of just drag and drop them. And this will just change the order like this. So you can just drag them and drop them like this. Super easy. So how do you actually add your tasks to it? So the tasks in this style are reflected as cards. So as you can see within that little list, you can hit add a card and that will create a little card within that board. So let's say task 1, and you can add a card in here and it's visible in there. So when we're here at this stage, let me explain what this board looks like. So we've got the basics of how to create a list and how to create a task, but let me tell you what the different functionalities within that view are. So at the top to the left in here, you've got the different buttons in here. So you've got the home button, which takes you back to that main dashboard. You've got the different boards, so you can quickly at a glance see the different boards within the teams or your recent boards that you've used. You can actually star boards as well, which makes them kind of your favorites, and they are available at a glance in here as well. Or you can just find boards if you've got multiple different ones in here, so you can just type in anything and it will pop up with your different boards. You can also hit jump to, and that will be a search, another way of searching for different boards. And you've got this right side in here, which if you hit plus in here, you can create a new board. You can start with a template. So you've got board templates that you can apply. You can create a team from here as well and create business team, but that's again within the business class. This is the information center, so you can have different tips. You can see pricing, apps, blog, privacy, all those different things. We've got notifications as well. So if you receive any, you see them in here. So you don't need to kind of jump back to your homepage. You can just view them from here. And of course, this is your account. And within that board, you've got the different views, which I will explain again at the very end. So we can leave it as this for now. You've got your title, which you can change in here. This is when you would start this board. So again, add it to favorites. This is where you can change the team, view your team page. You can see the team visibilities. And in here, you'll be able to see the different members. I'm just here on my own for now, but you'll be able to invite different members to the board from here as well. In the top right corner, there's a butler, and butler is basically a powerful tool that allows you for a certain kind of automation within your board and maybe some insights as well. It can basically perform simple tasks on your behalf, so you can automate certain parts. So there are 5 different commands within the butler. So you've got rules, cart button, board button, calendar, and due date. In the next tab in here, you can show menu, and this accesses all the different settings for this particular board. So you can add a description to the board just to make sure that everyone within the team knows what this board is for. So let's add our description in here now. So we can just hit save in here, and as you can see, we've got the description within the board and every team member will be able to view it. So let's go back. Next, we can change the background. So you hit that and you can see that you can use either photos or colors. We've chosen a color before, but let me just show you what you can do with the photos. They're all from Unsplash, which is a free stock platform. So you can see a few kind of proposed ones in here, or you can search for something that you like. So if you like coffee, for example, for this particular one, just to keep everyone energized, you can choose that one, and it changes the whole color scheme in a way for the cards. So it's quite a useful one if you're a very visual person and like to make things nice. Let's get back in here, and within here you can also search cards. So if your board becomes a bit more bulky, you can actually hit search in here and it will search through your different cards. The next option is stickers. So if you click in here, you can see that you can express a wide array of emotions in here. So you can either say something's done. So if you just select that one and drag it to the task, it just appears on top of it. You can have multiple ones added to that task. It's a great way to kind of express yourself, but you can also remove them from here if you don't like something. You know, this one definitely didn't fit, so we can remove it like this from here. If you go back, you can actually search within Giphy for different GIFs to add to your cards, and we can search for my favorite character, which is Michael Scott. And as you can see, you can use animated stickers. So I'll drag this Michael on top of my card and it gets attached to it and kind of hovers and bounces around in here. But that's just a bit of a silly option, but it's good to know that you can use that one as well. You can hit more in here. And in here, you've got the settings, so you can change the theme. Again, card covers are enabled, so that means that you can have the different kind of stickers and card covers. Commenting permissions, so you can allow the members to comment. You can add or remove different permissions from here, but we'll get back. And the next option is labels. So you can have particular labels set up for your whole board. And this is quite an important part because, of course, so many of us are very visual. We like to have different colors attached to different tasks just to kind of identify them very quickly. So let's hit on the labels in here. It pulls up all the different colors that are pre-made for you, and you can actually hit in here and change the name of them. So let's say this one will be marketing. Let's save this one. This one will be sales. Save this one. Let's say website. Let's fill up to the very end. And we've got our full set of different labels. And this is not your limit, so you can actually create a new label on top of that. So let's select this color because I've not used that one before. And let's say housekeeping. Let's create this one. And as you can see, it pops up at the bottom in here. If you need to change these for whatever reason, you can always go back here and change the name in here, or you can just delete them altogether. I'll show you how to actually apply those labels and how they look on your board once we're done with that part. So let's get back, and you've got collections, which is a pro option. You've got archived items, so anything that you archive within that board will show up in here, so you can access them later on. You don't need to kind of delete anything permanently. Then you've got email to board settings, and this is quite a cool feature. It's available within Asana as well, but this is the email address that you can actually use to forward any emails and create tasks or cards from that email. So it's really neat if you're managing your tasks on the go, or if you receive an email and just want to kind of send it straight to your project management board, that's absolutely fine. You can just kind of forward the email and it will pop up. And this is where you can actually set up how you would like to use that tool. So you can choose a list that you want the cards to appear in. So you can have a pre-made list just for these kinds of tasks to review them later on, for example. But if you click on here, you can just change them in here, and you can pick the position as well. So whether you'd like it to appear at the very top or very bottom of the card. Then you've got an option to copy this board, so it duplicates it, or print and export. So you can print the whole thing if you need it for any kind of reporting, or to show where you are with this particular project. You can also copy a board, which duplicates it with all the different cards that are within it, or you can print and export it. So if you need to print the whole thing for reporting or export it as a different format, you can also upload it to another Trello account or use it to export for different tools. And you can actually close a board as well once you're done with a particular project. So for example, if we're creating a website launch project, this will have an end game in a way. There will be a due date for the whole thing. So once your website is live, you can then maybe close the board and it doesn't kind of affect the rest of the boards, and you can reopen it at any time. But it's good to know that this is an option and those kind of different boards don't linger with your workspace. And as you can see, I've closed it, but I can permanently delete it or reopen it at a later time. So let's reopen it. So that gets us back to that screen. Great, so we're done with the settings in here. Again, you can access the butler, the power-ups from here, and then there's the activity. So you can see whatever happened within that board. You can see the whole activity, which is quite a good thing to kind of keep yourself and your team on track, and you know what's happening, especially if there was a mistake, something was maybe archived that shouldn't have been archived, or there was a task added which shouldn't have been added to that particular board. You can see that it was created in here, and you can kind of review the whole activity in here. And if you hit the activity board, you can also see all or comments. So if anyone's adding comments to particular cards, which I'll show you in a moment, you can see all the comments within that board from here. So let's close this menu in here and let me explain more about the different tasks and what you can do with the different cards. So we've got task 1 in here. So let's create 2 more just to show you how it's done again. So let's hit another card and let's say task 2. And instead of just clicking away, you can actually just hit enter in here and it will open another card, which means that you can kind of brain dump and just put all of your tasks straight away very efficiently, one after the other, instead of having to click each time you want to create a card. So let's say task 3 in here. and that's you settled with 3 different tasks. So let's hit task 1. So in here, you can see the title of the task. You can change it from here, and it shows which status, so which list it belongs to. So this is the ideas one. You can add a description. So if you need a more detailed explanation of what the task is, what needs to be done, you can use that particular one to just use it and add it for your whole team, or any team members can do it in here as well. So let's add a description in here. So I've got the description, I hit save in here, and you can always get back to it by hitting edit or just clicking on that description, and you'll be able to see it in here. You've got the different formatting options as well. If you hit formatting help in here, it will show you how you can actually kind of create different things. So emphasis, bold, lists. So maybe let's make this requirements part bold. I can just enter 2 stars in here. And let's hit save. And as you can see within the description, now the requirements part is actually bold. So it's cool to know that this is an option, and you can format your text within description if it's a more lengthy one. And below you've got the activity tab, and this is where all the different members can comment and update each other on the different requirements. So let's say, there are 2 people working within the same task. If someone needs to ask someone about a particular part of that task, they can just write a comment in here, and it will be visible for everyone within that board to see. Just hit show details in here. You can see all the different updates, and I can write a comment in here. So I've got my comment in here, and you can add different attachments either from your computer, from within Trello, from Google Drive, which you can connect to your boards as well, Dropbox, OneDrive, anything that you want to use. So if you need to attach something to that particular comment, you can do it from here, but let's leave it. You can mention a member in here, you can add emojis, and you can add a card from different part of the board. So let's save it in here like this, and everyone else will be able to view it, and you can also kind of edit it later on or delete it if you don't need it. Let's move on to the right panel in here. So these are the different settings which you can add to a particular card. So first, if you want to assign a task or this card to a particular member, you can just hit members in here, and I can just kind of pull up the whole team. I've got just one person that was invited to this board, so we can just hit that one, and this will add a person. And as you can see, it says suggested join, so you can just hit join, and that means that you are added to that task as well. And as you can see now that these are the members, and you can kind of keep adding different people to that particular task, and they're notified each time they are added to the task. And within the whole board view, you can see the different avatars, so at a glance who's dealing with that particular task. Very useful when you're working within a team. And as I mentioned, when we're setting up different labels, you can add labels to particular tasks. So let's add marketing to that particular one, and maybe sales as well, or let's remove that marketing one. Brilliant. And in the general view, you can see that this label was added to this task, and you can see this yellow label in here, and you can either kind of hover over it and it shows you what it is, or you can just click on it and it shows you it's for sales. Let's get back to the task. And the next cool option is that you can add a checklist within your tasks. So if a task is a bit more complex, you can just hit checklist in here, name it, let's say, whatever, process. Let's hit add, and you can add particular items within that task. Really, really cool. So let's say subtask 1, enter again, so that adds another task automatically. Subtask 2. Perfect. So we've got all the 3 added in here. And if you click on it, you can actually assign members within that task to it as well. So further kind of division of tasks. And if you need to delegate, this is a brilliant way to do it. You can add particular due dates within that big tasks as well. You can add emojis again, mention some people within it, or if you decide that this subtask actually needs to be a separate task, you can convert it to a card from here, but let's leave it as that, and let's hit save. And while the different members are working on this particular task, they can click as they go along and check this task, and then it kind of shows up the progress bar in here as well, which is a very neat option to keep everyone on track. And as you scroll down, the activity tab gets updated automatically when something changes within that task. The next option is to add a due date to your overall task. So as I've shown you before, the subtasks can have their different due dates, but you can add a due date to the general task as well. So let's hit due date in here. and you can choose one from the calendar in here. You can have a start date and a due date as well. So if you're adding something you want a start date reflected, this will come into play within the Pro version where you can see the timeline. So on the timeline view, you'll be able to see the progress of all the different tasks, and it will kind of reflect that start date and due date, which helps visualize the progress for the whole team. But let's stick to that one now. So I won't choose the start date, but let's just choose a due date as the 23rd, and you can set due date reminders. So you can have, at the time of due date, 5 minutes before, an hour before, something that's very universal to all the different apps that you're using. For example, in calendars like Google Calendar, you can actually use it that way. So let's say 1 day before, as it was in here, and you can just save it here. If you want to remove that due date, you can just go back and hit remove, and that will remove it altogether. And when you actually hit your target, when the task is kind of done, to reflect that on the main view, you can just tick that in here and it shows as complete. So it says this card is complete, and it shows the green mark on the board itself as well. So very cool to keep everyone accountable and keep everyone on track visually within that board. Let's get back to the card, and the next thing is that you can actually add attachments to your tasks as well. Very useful if you're working on something, you need to process different files, you can attach different links in here. So let's add a random file to it from our computer. Always my favorite meerkat GIF, so I'm just adding it here, let it process. When I'm attaching an image, it actually pops up as a card cover. That's another layer of this visual experience within Trello. And if you want to keep everyone kind of stimulated and show them different parts of that project, or, the members can do it themselves, of course, because everyone's got access to all these different settings, you can add different covers to your cards. Obviously, again, that's a silly one that you can use in here. But you can hit cover, which was here before I actually attached that link, but you can hit cover in here and you can change the size in here as well. So let's hit that, for example, and let me show you first what it looks like on the main board. This is the default one, so this ridiculous meerkat is just kind of staring at you from here. If you hit that again, hit cover and change the size to this one, you can see in here that the task is actually kind of displayed over that cover. It removes all the different features, the different kind of options. So the label is removed, the due dates is removed. So I prefer to keep it as that one, just to keep kind of the visual cues for everyone, but you can choose whatever you prefer for that one. You can have colors as well, so you can just choose a simple color, and that's another way of kind of keeping the cards visual. So for example, if we've got the sales one, the sales label, which is a yellow one, you can add a yellow tab to this task, but it's just kind of reinforcing it. But you can add different attachments from here. So for example, if you've got a few different attachments within the board, you can choose different covers from them, or you can choose to use the unsplash images again. So let's choose this one, for example, and as you can see, it kind of changed in the main view as well. So back in here, you can add different power-ups and different card buttons from here. But I'm going to skip that one just because it's a beginner's tutorial. And then we've got the actions in here. So you can move that card to a different board, or you can move that card to a different list from here. Obviously, you can still do it by dragging the card within the board, but if you need to move it to a different board, this is how you would do it. Next thing you can do is to copy that card. You can make it a template. As I mentioned before, if it's something that it kind of gets repeated very often with the different tasks and the different kind of options within that one card, you can make it a template. And watch means that you get notification when something changes within that board. And then you can archive it as well or share it with others. So this is a link to the particular card. You can embed this card and you can email this card to someone. Perfect. So these are all the different options within that particular card or task, whatever you prefer to call it. Let's get back to the main view. So the idea of working within Kanban boards is to actually kind of update the status of your tasks as you go. So when you would kind of start at the beginning, or if you're planning different tasks, this is when you would go into Trello and actually kind of assign different members, assign due dates. So this is the planning stage of it all. And once someone is taking care of the task, the idea is to move them to doing. So this is when you actually are actively working on a task. I would highly recommend not to leave these when you're kind of done with your work for the day. So something that you see a lot of people do when they're, especially when they're working on their own, but sometimes within teams as well, you kind of get, careless. You're working on something, it kind of extends to the next day. But the idea is that at the end of the day, there is nothing in the doing section. So if you're still working on a particular task, you don't leave it here at the end of the day, you get it back to do. And then you can kind of revise and obviously kind of move it back to doing when you're actively working on it. When you've got more tasks within that board and there are multiple members working on those cards, this is a way of actually kind of keeping each other accountable, seeing what someone is working on. So if you have a few tasks that are planned on your kind of to-do list, so this is your kind of priority, let's say, if you were to kind of move it to doing and there are a few tasks a few different members are working on at this particular moment, it creates that chaos, and this is something that we actually want to avoid while working within a project management tool. So I would highly advise you, again, to move everything back to the to-do or kind of move it to done once the task is accomplished. So now that we've got the basic principles of Trello and the boards out of the way, we can actually go ahead and create a content calendar. This is something that some of you have asked me either in emails, in DMs, on Instagram. So I want to show you today how you can create your own content calendar in Trello to get you started with content organization. Of course, we're talking about content marketing on this channel quite a lot. This is the main focus of the channel. So I want to actually show you how you can utilize this particular tool to achieve exactly that. So let's hit home in here. And again, that takes you back to the dashboard. As you can see, we've invited our teammates. You can connect your different apps, as I've mentioned before. So if you're working on Slack, if you've got Google Drive that your team members are working from, you've got different apps, you can connect them from here, or you can explore different automations. So again, add labels automatically, set due dates automatically, but we'll leave it as that for now. So let's get back to boards. So let's hit home in here, and it takes us back to the boards view. And here, this is the tab. You can kind of switch between the different ones, but we'll get back to it later on. So these are, again, your most popular templates. These are the recently viewed ones for the team. So you've got the template that I viewed before for project management. This is our existing project management board, which we're just working on. And these are all the different boards belonging to that dream team that we've created. So let's hit new board again, and we'll name this one content calendar. Let's choose a yellow background for this one, but I'll change it in a moment. And let's hit create tab. It opens up another one. As you can see, it's completely empty this time, so it doesn't have any kind of preset lists in here. So let's change the background straight away. We want something that says calendar. So let's search for calendar. And I like to keep my backdrops as plain as possible, just because it makes it kind of more minimalistic. This is what my brain responds to very easily. But of course, if you want to kind of play around with the different, more kind of flamboyant ones, you can of course choose those. But let's hit a plain one, and this is something that I prefer. All right, so we need to start off with creating the different lists, which in my case will represent, again, different status for each task. So let's add a list in here, and this will be an ideas list like this. And when I hit enter, it automatically takes me to create another list. Again, very easy, very kind of efficient in terms of how you're creating and setting up your boards. So the next one will be going ahead. Let's hit enter. Then let's say writing caption, choosing image, choosing hashtags, ready to schedule, and published. So this is kind of a basic breakdown of how I would set up my content calendar. Of course, the different stages will depend on how you're dealing with your content and what type of content you're producing, whether it's a video, whether it's just kind of written form. So of course, make it your own, but this is just an example of how I would deal with different parts of my social media management. Next, let's go to menu and let's set up my different labels. So let's hit labels in here, and I will make those labels represent different platforms. So that purple one will be Instagram, just to make it a bit more visual. That one will be Facebook. Let's say this one, which kind of looks red. Let's say it's going to be YouTube. Can make this one blog. And I actually just want to get rid of that orange. So let's delete this label and let's delete that one as well. Let's say these are just the platforms that I'm on. So you can maybe create another one for Pinterest. Let's say, let's pick pink. Let's say it's pink, even though Pinterest is red. Let's hit create. And these are our labels kind of settled in place. Okay, so now that we're back, we can kind of start populating this content calendar with different ideas. So let's add a card in here. Let's say tip number 1, tip number 2, how to start creating content. So give me a moment, I'll populate that particular board with different content ideas and you'll see what it looks like with different post prompts. Perfect, so we've got the ideas list filled with different post prompts. I've added labels in here as well, and as you can see, you can have multiple labels attached to a particular card. So this is very useful if you're planning on adding content pieces for different platforms at the same time. So let's say I'm creating a YouTube video, it will have a corresponding blog post as well. So there's no point in adding 2 different separate cards for that one. You can just attach the different labels to it. This is, of course, how I would set it up. You can do whatever you want. You can have labels for different things, like for example, content pillars instead of the different platforms. You can have separate content calendars for your priority platforms, let's say. So this is something that I do for myself in Notion. I actually have a video on my personal content workflow, so you can check it out yourself. And this is where I share my Notion setup on how I personally use a content calendar in that particular tool. But if you want to kind of set it up yourself, you can do it within Trello in here as well. So once you're done with the ideas, when you've got a brainstorming session, let's say, you can kind of put all of those different ones in here, and while planning your content for, let's say, 2 weeks, a month, you can kind of move them over to the going ahead. So let me move a few of these ones that I'm choosing for this month, let's say, and then these are again the progress of the different tabs. And something that I really want within my content calendar is for this to actually be a calendar and not just a board. So in order to do that, let me fill all of those different tasks with due dates. And I'll show you how you can actually create your content calendar and see it as a calendar within Trello. Now that I've got my content calendar populated with different due dates, let's go to Show Menu and hit Power Ups. So you can add 1 power up for free for 1 board, and I will enable the calendar one. And this is probably one of the most popular uses for a power up, but of course it will depend on your different boards, different projects, and what your business actually needs. But let's find calendar in here. And as you can see, it pops up with the calendar power up. So let's add this one. And once I've added it, instantly you can see that this board has reached its power up limit, which means you would have to upgrade to business class to be able to use additional power ups. So let's close it just now. Let's close this one in here as well. And you've got the calendar power up in here, which means you can actually click on it and then view all of your tasks as a calendar. And this is the most kind of neat way of organizing your content calendar. Of course, if you're working on a particular project, this is something that you would like to see at a glance. So a very useful tool if you want to set up your content calendar. You can change between the different kind of week views as well. And here, if you've got multiple things, obviously this is not a very bulky content calendar. I've just kind of populated with a few ideas. But if we change to month, you can see the monthly view in here. You can also hit settings in here, and you can sync your board's calendar with a personal calendar. Of course, this wouldn't be useful for this particular board, but for example, if you've got like a client's board that you're dealing with different kind of meetings and things of that nature, it might be useful to enable the calendar power up and sync it up with your personal calendar. So this is how you would set up your content calendar, and you can kind of drag the different cards for the different dates, so adjust the due dates in here as well. So it works similarly to your content calendar, to the board view. So you can kind of move it around in here. You can access different cards from within that. And again, that will be updated within the activity in here. Let's close that down for now. And this is how you would kind of move around, move the different things in here, and this is how you would operate. And once you're ready to schedule, you can move it kind of to ready to schedule or published. I got a question on Instagram whether you can actually schedule your content from within Trello, and this is not something that is available. So you would need a separate tool to actually schedule these things, whether you want to, schedule for Instagram from later, or if you're using Hootsuite, or if you're planning your content from within Facebook as well. You need to use those separate tools to actually schedule the content. But in any case, you do need a place to be organized, to have systems to actually plan your content, to execute all of it, and to know in one place that you've got everything kind of laid out and settled for the whole month, week, again, whatever time frame you're using to schedule or plan your content. I think having a content calendar is the best way to actually have your content neatly organized. And Trello, I'd say it's a very intuitive and very simple tool. There are different tools, and I personally don't use Trello anymore for this purpose, but it's a really good starter app. It's not very complicated, so you can definitely get organized in there and start your kind of project management journey within that tool. And if you've got a team that is working within that board, again, you can kind of add members in here. You can show other team members. So I've got this one, I've got this one. You can kind of remove that from here. So different people can work on different platforms within that content calendar. Let's say I'm writing a caption, so you can assign that to I can assign that to myself, and then once that's ready to be designed, let's say, I can move it in here and then change the member to, let's say, my designer, so I can remove myself from it, and they will be notified and can start working on that particular task as well. So it's not just kind of an overall member kind of assigning to each task, but for something like a content calendar, you can kind of keep changing things once you're changing the status of the different posts as well. So now let's get back to the homepage, and I'll show you what the different functionalities within the homepage are as well. So let's hit home in here, and you've got the up next section in here. So this is more of a personal view. So this is something that each member will see for themselves. This will be very individual based on what projects they belong to, what boards they belong to. So you've got the up next, which shows you the different due dates, mentions, and tasks. So I was assigned to the Facebook kind of client win post, so I can see it in here. I've added myself, of course, but if someone else added me, I can just kind of reply to it. I can dismiss that one. I can stop watching it, which means I wouldn't receive notifications. So for example, if you're actually kind of dealing with a content calendar separately, you don't want to see all the different posts that you need to take care of from within that view, you can just stop watching the different cards, and this is absolutely fine as well. And you can kind of have updates on the different projects within here, or you can change due dates or add members to the particular card from that view as well. So again, very quick, very neat, very efficient in terms of how you can manage tasks from within that view as well. You've got the highlights in here as well, which shows you the different activities. So this is when I've added the comment to the first board, which we were dealing with, the project management board. And as you remember, I've spoken to Mike beforehand, and this is the comment that I've actually got in here. So you can reply to it straight from here. So again, any member that is adding any comments, any activities kind of that are changing, anything that needs to be highlighted to other team members, you can see it from that kind of overview on your homepage. And it's very useful if you're trying to get kind of organized within different boards. And from here as well, if you have some boards that you use more often than others, you can actually favorite them, so star them, as I've shown you before. You can do it from within the board, you can do it separately from the kind of board view, but you can start from here as well, and they will pop up in here. So it's it gives you a very quick access to those different boards from the home view as well. And now on to the other part. This is the exciting part that Trello has now developed. I want to show you what different new functionalities they've introduced for the business plan. Let me create a new board for that purpose, just to show you the different functions of what they've introduced. So let's say this one will be a website launch. Let's create this board from within here. Again, you can see that it's within that dream team in here. Let's change the background again, just to make it more neat. Let's choose website. Let's maybe choose this one. It's quite simple doesn't bother me too much with the different options. Again, the color scheme is changed now. So let's say we'll set it up with the different Kanban board style. So let's say product backlog first. So this will be a backlog of our different tasks. Going ahead, let's say prioritized. And just to give you an idea, again, product backlog would be all the different tasks that need to be accomplished before your website launches and to enable that website launch. Then you've got prioritized. So anytime you're planning a particular period, so let's say your due date for that website launch is for 3 months, but of course you won't be kind of working on the different tasks within that 3-month period. You will be breaking them down into smaller kind of time frames. So let's say if you're planning for a week or 2-week chunks, you can move all the different tasks that you've got planned for that chunk to the prioritized one. Obviously, then we've got the in progress one. So anyone who's working on a particular task will be able to move it to in progress. But of course, once you're done with the day, you move it back or move it forward. And then I added waiting tab as well in here, the waiting list, just because sometimes you're done with some certain parts of the task, but you're kind of waiting for someone else to finish it or provide you with certain resources, certain tools. They need to do something for it. So, that waiting tab enables you to kind of not linger in between the in progress and the done section. So you can have waiting in here and then done again for the accomplished tasks. Again, let me quickly populate this website launch tab just to show you the different functionalities that Trello has introduced. Now that I've got my website launch board populated with different tasks, they're labeled, they've got different due dates assigned, I am ready to show you the different functionalities that Trello has now introduced in their business plan. And a wee disclaimer, as you can see in this board, if we've got different tasks, just disregard what it is and the time frames as well. This is just kind of a placeholder for it. It's in no way, shape or form reflective of what a normal website launch would look like. But I thought I would just put it out there. So let's go to board in here and let's start our 14-day free trial. So as you can see, we've got a wee kind of confetti going in here. So that means that we've got the free trial now. You can add a payment method later on in here, but let's kind of switch to a different board view. So let me show you the different views that you can now access as a business class member. So if you hit board in here, it will show you this pull-up card in here with different options. So the first one that we've got is the map. Obviously, it may not be relevant for this website launch one because you won't have kind of different locations, but it can be perfect for people who are managing their team and their team members need to go to different places. So you've got client meetings, let's say, any kind of maintenance calls, anything of that nature, that can be reflected on the map view. And this way, if you've got people kind of going to different locations, you can actually pin different tasks or let's say different appointments maybe that you're reflecting with your cards. You can pin them to each card and you can change to a map view, and this way you would be able to track all of these on the map. So let me just assign a few locations to the few different tasks in here and you'll be able to see what it looks like on the map. So let's open up a card, let's go to location, and then you can just type in anything. I'll just randomly type in Edinburgh Castle because I'm in Edinburgh in Scotland, so this is the first thing that popped into mind. Let's choose that one, and as you can see, it shows the location in here. So this is a map now. And once I've got this location pinned in here, I can actually click in here to just access Google Maps separately. So this will open up the maps in here and I'll be able to kind of view the pin. So your team members can actually just kind of look at it at a glance and see where they need to go for their next appointments, which is very useful for someone who needs to kind of manage multiple appointments at the same time. Let me go back and add another location to a different tab. So in here, let's say Royal Mile. So let's choose this one. Again, the location pops up in here. And let me go to the map now. So as you can see, I've got my Edinburgh Castle pin in here. If I wanted to change this location, let's say I want to go to, New College, the University of Edinburgh, let's choose that one. And this way you can kind of easily move things over to this particular pin. If I click on it, you'll be able to see the dates in here. I mean, obviously it's choose fonts, so it's completely ridiculous. No one will be choosing fonts at New College, you know, in Edinburgh, but whatever, you get my point, you know what I'm saying. And this is the other one, so this is the Royal Mile one that I've attached. This is choose colors, so we're choosing colors on Royal Mile, whatever. But this is this shows you, this reflects all the different tasks. So for people who are working on location, this is a brilliant way to actually manage your tasks or your appointments on a map, and it's another layer of being able to actually organize your time. So let's move back to the views, and the next one is the timeline. So this is what the timeline view looks like, and you can kind of see all of the different tasks scheduled, and it's especially great for managing projects. I can change the view in here to a monthly view to maybe kind of see it a bit more clearly. So this is a great way to actually view the different tasks, where we're at, so you can see the status in here, so the different lists as well, and you can see how these different tasks kind of overlap. You can change them from here, so if I wanted to maybe extend that in here, kind of start that earlier, or maybe kind of drag the extend the due date on this one as well, you can kind of do it from here. So it's very easy, very intuitive, and you can track all the progress of the team. And maybe if you know, your project is planned in a specific way, you can kind of see the whole thing in here. And if you click on it, you can quickly access all the different things within that task. So again, another way, another layer of actually being able to track your team's progress. And if you click in here as well, you can change the view, so the selection kind of your different tasks. Obviously, I don't have a team in here for this board, but if you had different members in here, you could see different tasks that they are taking care of. So you can kind of sort that by this. You can have labels as well. So you can see the graphic. I set it up as graphic design, copywriting, web design, optimization. So these may be kind of different, maybe contractors that are working for you on this particular task, or different subdivisions within your team. So you can kind of have that as labels in here as well. And you can choose it as none. So there's nothing kind of shown on the left panel in here, but let's keep it as a list in here. So this is basically what this would look like. You can have a quarter as well. So different views, you know, it depends on how bulky, how big of a project it is and how much of a time span it stretches over. But this is definitely a very useful view for teams and projects. Next, we've got the calendar view, and as you can see, it's a bit different from the Power Up, but it is similar in certain ways. So again, you can see the start and due dates in here as within the timeline, but you can see them particularly on a calendar within this particular month. And you can kind of scroll around. Again, you can kind of move things around to different dates. You can kind of move them lower, move them higher up. I'll just leave it on the 9th in here for this task. So at the moment, you can just manipulate the start and due dates. You can toggle between the different views. You can kind of move around. You've got a month in here for now. But as far as I know, because I attended their Zoom webinar where they explained the different functionalities and how they're planning on developing them in the future, I know that the calendar view is in particularly kind of they're focusing on that with how they're going to develop it. So I think filtering is coming for this. Day view is coming for this, this view as well. And they're planning on syncing with third-party apps like Outlook or, you know, Google Calendar, whatever. So this will be available within the next probably couple of months. But at the moment, it's not that much different, I feel like, from the Calendar Power Up. But apparently, within the next few months, it will be different. So there will be differences between the Power Up and the Calendar view. So next, let's move on to the dashboard view. And this is your way of accessing data. So this is a visual way of representing the different kind of metrics within your boards, within your kind of teams. So you can see all the different functionalities in here. So you've got the cards per label one, for example. So you can see that within the graphic design label, I've got 6 different tasks. You've got cards per member. Obviously, I don't have any members kind of assigned to these different tasks, but you would be able to see how the work kind of spans across different members in here. Very useful, I think. And cards per due dates, you can see what's been completed already, what's due later, what's overdue as well. So we can kind of track these very quickly and see, oh guys, listen, these two actually need to be worked on. Do you need any help with that? So it's a really great way to access all this data by a manager especially, but of course, you know, for other team members that have a certain level of responsibility as well, this is a great way for them to see it. And if you scroll down in here, you can actually add custom tiles. So you've got bar graphs, pie charts to choose from. Let's choose a pie chart. Let's say, you know, cards per due date, again, add a tile, and you can kind of make it work for yourself, have different representations of different key metrics for yourself, and you can add them in here. I know they're trying to develop this part as well, so within the next couple of months, I think they're going to roll out historical data, historical reporting. I know that you'll be able to actually export these for the purposes of creating reports, so they're definitely working on it, and I think they'll introduce more data points for that particular view. But again, that is to come, and again, that's not for everyone. Not everyone will need that part, but I just want to show you what's available in the business class if you need a bit more of a layer of management for your projects. And the last one is the team table. So this is a team table, and it's actually a very exciting development from Trello. This is where you can see all the individual and team progress for the different tasks. And I just have one board added to that view for now. So let's add the other boards in here as well. I didn't have too many kind of tasks within those, but they will be added. So let's scroll down. And as you can see the different members kind of attached in here. I've not been doing that for all the different tasks because it's just a presentation that I'm doing for you guys. But you can see where things are at, the different dates. You can see kind of overdue tasks in here, things that are completed in here as well for the different kind of cards within those projects. So it's a brilliant way of seeing all the tasks. And this is actually where you can kind of manage the different tasks in here as well, because you can assign members from here as well. You can kind of tick the different tasks as completed. You can change the list. So let's say, you know, write terms and conditions was already completed, so I can move it to done. And this kind of shows it all at a glance. So you can add different filters. Let's say overdue, and you click on it and you see which tasks are overdue. Again, you can reach out to the members. You can say, hey guys, do you need any help with those? You can assign different members to the ones that are reflected in here. So a great way to manage all of the workload within that one table. Yeah, so this is a very useful thing if you're looking for a bit more complexity within your boards. This is definitely again, very exciting development from Trello, because I frankly moved away from Trello for that particular reason, because I wasn't really able to see different views. I wasn't able to see that much of kind of data points and analysis within Trello. So I moved away to Asana initially, and now I've kind of moved everything over to Notion, because this is how I roll and this is what works for me specifically. But as a beginner, I feel like Trello is a great tool to be able to actually manage the different tasks. And whether you are working within a team or just by yourself, Trello definitely lets you be organized. So the last thing I want to talk about is the different card types that Trello introduced to be able to streamline the process even more. The first card type is a link card. So let me copy my website address in here, add another card, and if I just paste that in here and click enter, that creates that card as a link. So if I click on it, it just takes me to that website. And if you need to link to certain resources, if there's anything that you need within that board that needs to be accessed very quickly, this is a great way to actually add it within your different lists. And if you hit in here, you can just convert it to a regular card later on and treat it as a task as well. So another one that they've introduced is a board card. And this is actually what you can do. You can actually link through a card, you can link to another board. And let me show you how it's done. So let's say within that website launch, I were to populate my blog with different articles. So I can just add another card and enter the link to the content calendar. So this other board that I've got on Trello that we've just created, and I can add this card. And as you can see, it links to the content calendar board. And if you click on it, it just takes you straight away to that content calendar, and you can just get back to it when you want. But this is, again, another way of making things even more efficient. So especially if you've got, I have that project management board that I've created. If this is your way of managing bigger projects, you can have the website launch board within that one in there, so you can see where it progresses and you can kind of move it along to the different parts of your list, so of your board. So you can have, oh, the website launch is still in progress, or we're prioritizing it for the next time frame. So this is another layer of management that you can add to your boards. And the third type of card, which is coming up, I cannot actually show it to you at this stage, but as far as I know, they're planning on launching it within the next couple of months, probably around June, maybe May, June, something along those lines. But they're planning on launching a mirror card. And what a mirror card is basically one card that's reflected across different boards. And the idea of it is that you can have one card. So let's say this choose images card would be in here, but I want it to be a part of different boards. So I want to be able to change the progress, change the different kind of functionalities. So let's say this write homepage copy card would be a part of a different board. So let's say I have a copywriting board. So anything that I'm sending to my copywriting team, let's say, would be, they would have a separate board for it to manage their tasks within there as well. So I could have it within the website launch in here as well, but they could have the same card, the same exact card within their board, within the teams. And they would be able to change different things in there, and that would be reflected on this card in here as well. And this is, I think, a great development that they're coming up with. And again, this is another reason that I wasn't really using Trello for. Asana was much greater, is much greater for that purpose, because you can have the same task within this different projects, and it just makes it so much easier, because it's not always that you have just one task for one project and that's it. So as far as I know, the mirror cards will be available to free users. So unlike the different views that are only available for business class owners, you will be able to have mirror cards as a free user. However, they will have different functionalities, and I think what they were saying during that Zoom call was that when you've got a mirror card as a free user, you will only be able to make changes within the original board. So let's say, I have that card within the website launch, that's the original mirror card on that website board. You will be able to make changes from the website launch, but if it belongs to another board from within there, you wouldn't be able to kind of change things up so that it reflects across the board. I think this is what their explanation at the moment is, but I think it's not kind of as clear cut at this point, and we'll see what they come up with in terms of these mirror cards. But I think this is, again, a very exciting development, and this is something that definitely takes them to another level. So this is definitely what I'm looking forward to in terms of what Trello comes up with. But as of now, I still think Asana makes it work a bit better for me for managing tasks. But again, I think Trello are trying to be competitive, trying to stay competitive in that area, in the project management software, and we'll see what they come up with. If you're looking for a tool that will give you a bit more complexity in terms of how you can manage your tasks, check out this in-depth tutorial on Asana, and I'll teach you how to set it up yourself. And if you're not sure which one of these two you should pick yourself, check out this Asana versus Trello video, in which I'll explain all the pros and cons of both platforms. If you've got any questions about Trello after watching this video, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm always trying to answer each and every comment you leave in there. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you next time.